Hello everyone, I'm Himanshu Asnani. Once again, welcome you all in my lecture. The name of my subject is Non-Destructive Evaluation Code NE419. We are studying unit number 1. Today is lecture number 2. And our topic is entity method used for evaluation of materials and visual inspection. So today our objective will be to understand what is visual inspection of materials and what are the factors influencing it. And after the lecture, students will be able to understand how do they do visual inspection of materials and what are the factors that influence it. Now, let me first of all give you a slight glimpse what is NDT. NDT is non-destructive techniques, non-destructive evaluation techniques that are used nowadays in the industry. Why this non-destructive techniques got famous? See, there are two kinds of techniques nowadays going on: destructive techniques and non-destructive techniques. In destructive techniques, what happens? You take a part and do certain examination. You take those samples and do certain testings on it, in which the okay, you get a reading and then you evaluate according to that. But destructive testing is only possible when you are producing around thousands of parts. For example, you say you are preparing around 10,000 parts, and you are doing only testing on around 10 samples. So in that case, it is acceptable because 10 samples in front of 10,000 parts is negligible. So it is possible. So in that case, you can go for destructive testing. But if you are producing only 10 samples or 10 parts, and in that also you are doing testing in which the part can be destroyed, it is not possible. So for such parts, the industry came out with the technology known as NDT, non-destructive techniques, in which the part doesn't get destroyed, the part remains same. We do a testing, we do a technique in which we evaluate and examine the whole part, and the results will be seen by the observer. Okay, so uh, in this way, through NDT, the destruction point of view gets eliminated, and the part can be saved and can be used. Okay, normally there are few kinds of non-destructive techniques that are used nowadays that I discussed earlier with you, like eddy current testing, magnetic particle testing, ultrasonic testing, visual inspection, uh, liquid penetrant testing, and eddy current testing. There are all kinds of testing is there. Radiographic. So today we will discuss some more in that also portion, and then we will go with the visual inspection. Okay. So NDT methods may use of electromagnetic radiation, sound, or inherent properties of matter to examine samples. Okay. They can use sound through ultrasonic counseling. They can use other techniques also. But the motive behind is just to understand what is the inherent properties of the materials, and to examine the samples. Okay. Whatever we want to test, we want to examine it. So this includes some kinds of microscopy to examine external surfaces in details. If you want to go for external examination, although some sample preparation techniques for metalographic, optical microscopy, and electron microscopy are generally destructive, as the surfaces must be made smooth through polishing, or the sample must be electron transparent in thickness. See, uh, in some tests in labs, we normally what we do that if any metallic surface is available with us, metallic material is available with us, we normally try to remove the unevenness on the surface in order to get a better examination of the sample. Okay, so uh, somehow it is said that you have to make the surface smooth either through grinding or through polishing. Polishing actually enhances the transparentness in the material. Okay, grinding removes the unwanted thing, but polishing enhances the luster, enhances the transparentness of the material. So polishing can be done through in this. Some material can be removed, but you will get a clear view of the uh, inside of the material, and you can examine very easily. Okay, so this method of evaluation are being used nowadays. Then the inside of a sample can be examined with penetration radiation such as X-rays. I told you in the last class also that this kind of technology is also being used nowadays. Okay. Then sound waves are utilized in case of ultrasonic testing. This also I have told you in your earlier classes also that how ultrasonic testing. I give you a slight glimpse. Okay, how sound waves are used. Then contrast between a defect and the bulk of a sample may be enhanced for visual examination by unaided eye by using liquid to penetrate fatigue cracks. I told you earlier also that two kinds of you can say NDT technique. One is visual technique and one is liquid penetrating technique that are used. Like what happens that if there is a small defect, so this small defect can be find out by visually. But if there are multiple defects on a surface or on a sample, bulk of a sample, like we can say that it will take both the ways. You have a sample with you, a large sample, a large surface, in which you can see a defect, but it has numerous defects on the surface. Then you should go for liquid penetrant testing because it will help you to find out the cracks in easy way rather than going with just simple eyes on visual inspection. And secondly, if you have more samples available with you, more parts, more workpiece to be available with you for examination, then also instead of going for visual inspection, you should go for liquid penetrant testing in that case also, because here you can easily you can say find out the cracks or the you can say the unwanted fatigue that is not allowed on the surface. So liquid penetrant testing, this also is very getting very famous if you go beyond visual inspection. Okay. Now this liquid penetrant testing, this involves the using of dyes and fluorescent or non-fluorescent, maybe an on application for non-magnetic materials using metals. What happens in this that if you are using this kind of thing, then what they do, they simply apply some liquid on the surface of the sample or workpiece, and then they apply some powder on it. So what happens that if the powder is not reactive, then automatically uh, the space where the cracks are there, either the powder will accumulate and you will get a density of powder at that surface on cleaning the surface. In that way you can find out the crack, or some kind of a fluorescent uh, uh, we can say it will be shown to you that something is shining, that you can find out that this cracks are available. In both ways this kind of work can be done either in fluorescent way or non fluorescent way. So you can examine with these tracks also. Then you can also go with like magnetic particle testing. As the name says that magnetic, so something is getting magnetized. So another common example of using NDT method used on ferrous metals. Normally, if we go with the ferrous metals, involves the application of fine iron particles, either liquid or dry dust, that are applied to a part while it is in an extremely magnetized state. That is maybe with the help of a magnetic particle tester, that I told you earlier also. Then the particles will be attracted to a leak field within the test object and form of the subject surface. Now, this is a special feature of this, that uh, the test workpiece or the test object, whatever test sample, what you say, when there is a leakage, then automatically the the magnetic particle it will form on the surface, and you can easily understand that this is the surface where some defect is found. If the defect is inside also, then also you can find out that here if some accumulation of powder is there and some internal defect also there on the surface, you can easily find out. It will automatically show you. And the next evaluation technique is thermoelectric effect, or you can say Seebeck effect, that uses thermal properties of an alloy to quickly and easily characterize many alloys. Okay, they go for thermal properties, just like that. And the chemical spot test is also there. But apart from this liquid entrance test is getting more famous than this test, chemical spot test. Then electrochemical methods such as electrochemical fatigue crack sensors or utilize tendency of metal structure material to oxidize steadily in order to detect progressive damage. This is an advanced system in which they normally go for electrochemical method for finding out the cracks. Okay, because what happens is that somehow if the cracks are there, they put some material on the surface and then they go for apply some material. So wherever the crack is there, automatically there some kind of reaction happens, and you are able to find out that okay, there is a change in the powder, so might be some the reaction is there, so there is a defect. Now, some terms that you will be having in the coming lectures, so you should be aware of these terms if possible. So, the terms like indication. Indication is a term in which both the things are there. Matlab, whatever you are seeing after testing, or whatever you are feeling during the testing, it can be indication. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be true, it can be false. So it depends. Okay. Now the response or evidence from an examination such as blip on the screen of an instrument. Indication simply stands for that only. That if you are examining something test or you are doing a test and something appears on the screen of the instrument. Okay. So it is an indication that something is happening. Now indications are classified as true or false. Now false indications means somehow due to improper implementation or somehow due to any mistake in the testing, like anything, like if you go for magnetic particle testing, if you have taken the wrong magnetic particle, or the ultrasonic testing, instead of sound there is some electrical interference, and in the radiography of going ahead with the film is damaged, so these things will be shown on the screen, that these are the false indications, while which are not related to the testing technique. There is a fault, you have to improve them, so these should be known to you. Then the true indications can be like if some defect is found out, then there will be an indication that there is a defect, there is a flaw. Flaw is another synonym of defect, so you can go with that also. So if any defect is there, then or flaw is there, then also indication will show you. It will be relevant. And the second thing that like while testing various samples, you are keeping the samples in side by side. So if by mistake there is a tremendous gap in between the samples, and while testing the instrument is unable to overcome that gap, that thing. So in that way also it will show some indication that while testing the workpiece or the object there is a gap, so you have to help the instrument at that time to overcome that gap also. Also, while checking various mechanical heavy industry equipments also, machinery also, you might interface some kind of threading or some kind of you can say work design on the you can say surface of the object or workpiece. So in that case also you need to help the instrument. So it will indicate show indication that it is unable to overcome that issue or unable to you can say detect anything. So in that way also you need to help him. Also, in case of some heat treatment processes, they form a layer which is unwanted. And while testing, if that layer also comes in between, so in that case, you need to remove that layer so that you get a proper idea of the, you can say, testing, and the testing can be done very easily. So these are some true indications that are important. Some are relevant. Relevant means some, if defect is there, it will show a relevant true indication. And some indications which are, see, those are not showing anything. They are non relevant, but something is getting hindered while doing testing. So they are these two indications which are non-relevant to testing, but they are important in terms of for in terms of testing, because unless and until they are over to overcome that issues or that indications, they are unable to do the testing further. So in that case, these indications are very important while testing with the instruments. Okay, and these indications should be well understood by the, you can say, observer or the machinist. Because if the machinist is unaware of the indications, how will it able to understand? Suppose you are using, you can say, you are working in a company, and the company is having an indicator showing that if the machine is warm or not. Okay, but it has reached this temperature. You have to, when it reaches a high temperature while machining, you need to switch on the coolant or the, okay. So if while you are machining anything and indicators come that the heat is there, and if the machinist is not able to understand what that indicator is for, he will not able to do proper machining further. Your temperature will keep on increasing after machining, and then automatically it will lead to some broke down or the machine will automatically stop because it has not switched on the coolant. Okay, so nowadays what happens that they have applied automatic system. That is that if there is temperature below above that, that automatically coolant will switch on. That is okay. But I am telling you about some small example of what indication word holds importance. Then interpretation. Interpretation means that if an indication is a type to be investigated, is a false indication should be investigated or not? That is interpretation. If a true indication should be investigated, whether the true investigation indication is relevant or non-relevant. If it is relevant, then it can be investigated. It is non-relevant. It doesn't need any investigation. It needs improvement. Okay. So interpretation is also important in it. You have to understand how to interpret the indication. If you are unable to do that, you cannot overcome that. Okay. See, this interpretation technique has needs experience. Okay, indication can be seen, but after seeing the indication, you should have an experience that how to interpret that. It is the false. Then why it is giving false interpretation? Needs some improvement. Okay. Then, for example, electromagnetic testing indications from metal loss are considered flaws because they should be usually be investigated, but indications due to variation in material properties may be harmless or non-relevant. Very okay. So this way you should able to understand and interpret accordingly that what should be done if indication comes. Okay. Next, the flaw. See, while working, a flaw occurs. So we can say a flaw is a discontinuity that must be investigated to see if it is rejectable. For example, porosity in a weld or metal loss. Now, flaw word you might have been seen in your life since you are in seventh semester. So you might have seen in various Subjects also flaw. Now a flaw, if it is real a problem or it can be improved. Okay, like see if there is a porosity in the weld. Porosity means some hole while welding, some holes are there in the weld. Is it acceptable or not? Okay, whether the holes are too big that the actual welding is weakened. If it is weakened, then there is a problem. Then the indication is true that the flaw that has been indicated is true, and it can be interpreted that it should be improved. Okay, it is a discontinuity, it should be improved. So a type of discontinuity that must be investigated to see if it is rejectable. And if that porosity in the weld has small holes which can be adjusted, then that flaw can be rejected. So interpretation holds very important role in this. Okay, then evaluation. I told you just now the example of welding. Determining if the flaw is rejectable or not. Okay, by I told you about this example only. Porosity in the weld is larger than acceptable. If the hole is large enough, then automatically that flaw cannot be accepted. It has to be improved. And if the holes are very less in size, which do not affect the overall strength of the welding, then it can be rejected. Understood? It can be rejected. So depending upon the experience, depending upon the past database, you should be able to understand that how things are indicated, how it should be interpreted, what is being interpreted, either it is rejected, and the most important thing, the evaluation. See, the evaluation is a data that is collected from the past experiences. So one should be well readable about all the evaluation processes done in the past. Okay, because if somehow the inspector doesn't know the basic concepts behind welding, he is not able to understand the flaw that the porosity is shown, the indication of porosity. He will not able to understand, and he will not able to evaluate that he should accept that flaw or not. He should try to improvise that flaw or not. Okay, this is a small example. There are n number of indications, n number of flaws. You should be aware of that. You should be aware of that, and as most importantly, the methodology to improve it there and there, if possible. If possible, that problem should be improved there and there. You also might have seen in non-destructive evaluation and testing in railways. When they are going for evaluation of railway tracks, they also carrying a welding machine with them. Okay, so while they are inspecting the railways, if by mistake any flaw comes, either it can be any breakage or any crack or anything, anywhere, whatever flaw they detect. There are very flaws that I will discuss you later on in this unit. So if by mistake any flaw comes, then they try to repair it then and there only. Why they do this? Because they know that it holds importance. It holds importance. If because of rails are very lengthy, and if you cannot detect it at which part the problem was there, you can make a signal, you can make a sign over there key, okay, this part the problem was there, but you try to improve it then and there only if possible. So they usually carry a small kind of welding machine with them so that they can try to improve it, improve it then and there only. Okay, the observer is so advanced. Then defect, a flaw that is rejectable, that does not meet the acceptance criteria, that means it is a defect. So defect should be removed or repaired. And I told you that, see, removing is normally avoided, repairing is generally practiced. Okay, if there is a defect, then they try, they do not remove it, they try that it should be repaired. Why we are doing NDT? We are doing NDT so that something cannot get destroyed. We are actually trying to save the time and money. So if you want to save time and money, see, if you are trying to remove something, then you have to wait for another thing to come, and then you will install it, and then you will try to use it, then you will again try to set up it. So it is taking your time, and time is money. So defects which can be repaired, that is the first priority, and removing is only possible if there is no possibility that it can be repaired. So a flaw that is rejectable, that does not meet acceptance criteria, is a defect. Okay, penetrant testing. Sometimes they try that, they usually use a penetrant, that is a method of excess removal and a developer to produce visible indications of surface breaking discontinuities. What they do that after a certain kind of you can say inspection, at some areas where proper inspection cannot be done, they usually go for you can say uh, a visible indication test, in which they apply a penetrant, and then they check that on the surface that where this in the various discontinuities on the surface, and then they try to find out that what should be done, that either this whole system, because it was difficult to test, so it is either showing a as a defective piece or defective sample, so it should be removed and new should be installed. And if it cannot be removed, or it is you can say having less defects, then how it should be repaired. Okay, so in certain cases only this patent testing is done, because uh, now visual inspection. Visual inspection is important. Visual inspection is done. Visual inspection is practiced by many people nowadays. In daily day-to-day life also you practice visual inspection. Visual inspection is defined as the process of using the unaided eye alone or in conjunction with various aids as the sensing mechanism from which judgments may be made about the condition of the unit to be inspected. I'll give you various definitions of visual inspection. One from home kind of view, one kind of simple common person point of view, one from industry point of view, one from every point of view. So they say that visual inspection is use of eyes or in conjunction with some instruments or some gadgets as a sensing mechanism, and based on that examination or sensing, uh, some judgment is done about the part that is being inspected. Okay, they say this thing. Another definition, they say that visual and optical tests are those that are using probing energy from the visual portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Right. Earlier also they said they are using some instrument in this also. They combine optical test along with visual test, and they are saying that they are using some kind of probes and arrangement to examine things. Okay, like suppose if they are using some electromagnetic spectrum, then obviously they will throw some light on the test object, and if there are changes while in the light, then automatically some defect is there. So that change in the light is seen by the human or by visual inspection. So they say that this is a kind of a visual inspection technique. Okay, so this is their like I'll tell you one thing. Like in the on the surface, if we are using if the electromagnetic spectrum is applied with the help of probes, and if some light changes, automatically this it will be seen by the human eye only. Then again, if you are doing it on a pipes, so you can easily it can be very seen very easily. Now there is a term called borescopes, means there are hollow spaces inside, and then you are trying to scan it. So in that way also, borescopes, if you want to scan those underground areas, they are with the help of borescopes. Okay, so any changes that is seen, that also show some indicators and indications, and then you interpret and then you evaluate accordingly. Then third definition that it is used primarily used in aircraft maintenance, and that test in this what happens that they test a broad area of the aircraft structure, and that testing is done with the help of some instruments, and there are all these instruments results are also visualized. Okay, okay, these are visualized with the help of magnifier and borescopes. Like what happens in this that during the maintenance time they check on the surfaces. This is an example of aircraft they have taken. But suppose if you have large bodies, then what they do that they usually use with the help of magnifiers and borescopes. Magnifiers are used on the surface, borescopes are used in detail inside where magnifiers cannot be used. So in that case, you want to go for visual inspection, then they go for optically aided visual methods, and then they examine all the surface broader areas. This takes time. This is not faster process. This takes time. Okay, this takes time. So they go for that. Okay, because these have larger areas. No, in that way they go. For it. So in these three ways, they have you can say given you a broader you can say definition of visual inspection. In every area, visual inspection holds its own style of working. Okay. Then again, visual inspection type, it can be direct visual inspection or remote visual inspection. Okay. Direct means if you are examining right in front of you, then is there. Remote means if you are somewhere else and through instruments you are like in borescopes. Bores will go inside with the help of a camera, and if there are some changes, it can be visually examined on the screen. So remote visual inspection and then direct visual inspection. These two kinds are there. So, visual inspection, okay, is by far the most common non-destructive technique is doing. So, while attempting to determine the soundness of any part of specimen offered in unintended in the application, visual inspection is normally the first step for the examining process. Normally, in day-to-day life, we normally see that we usually go for uh, visual inspection. Why? Because it is foremost the most easiest and the simplest inspection that can be done uh, instead of thinking something else. Okay. Uh, Almost any specimen can be utilized, examined to determine the accuracy for its fabrication. Even if they go for visual inspection, then they go for detailed further ultrasonic inspection or radiographic inspection, whatever the part demands. Then they go for that only. So in how visual inspection holds its importance in there. Okay. Now this is the same that visual inspection the most common non-disciplinary examination. Okay. So like suppose if there are some results in front of you, so that also you visually intervene them, interpret images, and help in carry out that examination or finding out a result also. So that is also a visual inspection. If you are going for a fabrication process or production of any part, and somewhere you try to check the part after completing of the process, all the production process, you check the part that it is prepared properly or not, whether it is having proper finishing or not. So that is also visual inspection. Okay, that is also visual inspection. So it depends upon the state condition that where you are inspecting. Somewhere you are physically directly inspecting that, it is direct visual inspection. Somewhere you are remotely inspecting, it is called remote visual inspection. Uh, Now, levels of visual inspection, these are quite simple levels of inspection. Fun first level is that is walk around. You give a general round for checking that to be conducted from ground level to detect discrepancies and detect general condition and security. This is a simple walk around the type kind of a visual inspection. Second is general inspection, that is made of an exterior with slit hatches or opening or an interior when called for detect damage, failure, or so it's like taking a part in your hand and then examining by touching it on the surface or by opening inside and checking it from the inside also. So you have checked both interior and exterior for checking for any damage or any irregularity. Like in casting, somehow any irregularities happen while casting. Somewhere the inner surfaces are not complete. So in that way, this inspection is done. Okay. Third is detail inspection. Detail inspection means using you have a data that is in which you have done an intensive visual examination of a specific area or system or an assembly to detect failure, damage, or irregularity. And for this, you use some kind of probes that is called as inspection aids that you have used that we have discussed earlier also right now. Surface preparation and elaborate access procedures may be required for that. Then level 4 detailed spatial detailed. It means that somewhere in critical parts you prepare a detailed inspection of a specific item or some kind of arrangement installation and detect its any failure or damage or any irregularity. Normally, this kind of spatial detailed visual inspection is done normally in types of heavy duty machines or intensive machines, specialized techniques or equipments which require regular checking and that. So this is are the four levels of inspection: simple walk around, then simple lookout, inside and outside, then detailing, looking out, and then special detailing routine. It depends upon the part, it depends upon the system on which you are investigating. Okay, it depend upon that. Next, some MCQs today for after today's class. That in NDT, these questions are these are those caused by the factors not related to the principles or a testing method or by improper implementation of the method, like film damage in radiography, electrical interference in ultrasound testing. I have told you these are called as false indications. Okay, we are studying about indications, no? So this is kind of a false indications. Next MCQ in NDE, it is a type of discontinuity that must be investigated to see if it is ejectable. For example, porosity in a weld for or metal loss. Then as I told you, is called as a flaw. It is called as a flaw. It can be rejected or not. Then out of the various defects found in the material, these types of defects are generally observed exterior and interior of the surface of workpiece. Means upper and lower. Then it can be called as a surface defects. Then out of the various defects found in materials, these type of defects are thin in one dimension but larger in other two dimensions. Some of these defects are lack of bonding, casting cold shirt, fatigue, cracks, heat treatment cracks, etc. So what are these called as? Understand? Kite are thin one dimension and larger in other two dimensions. Means some plane is there. Okay, so it is called as a planar defect. Then what is the use of an interscape microscope that I had just discussed with you? It is used to measure the depth of scratches, microscope. Okay. Uh, Now, relevant indications are those caused by flaws. Yes, it is true. That is called by flaws. Then in the NDT, it is a flaw that is ejectable. That does not mean acceptance area. Remember, it needs to be removed. It is defect. It is a defect. And in NDE, it is far most common non-destructive technique. You are attempting to determine the soundness of any part or specimen for intensive application. It is normally the first step in the examination process. Studied just now only. Visual inspection. Generally, almost any specimen can be visually examined to determine the accuracy of one. Visual inspection. Studied just now. Non-relevant indication are those caused by known features of the tested object like gaps that I told you just now. Okay, true. And the last equipment, those for inspecting of inside portion of hollow chamber or narrow tube. I told you in this lecture only borescope. So these small questions I have taken from the lecture only, which I have taught you right now. Okay, so this may help you to increase your knowledge to some extent, and I hope you like the lecture. These are some references that you should consider and study while after this lecture if you want. And these books are a source of knowledge, and one should be uh, try reading these books if possible. So for today, I want to thank you for attending my lecture, and that's it. Thank you all.